Joining us now, the Republican vice presidential nominee, Indiana Governor Mike Pence. Thanks very much, Governor, for joining us here in the Situation Room.
You bet, Wolf. Good to be back.
I want to get to several issues, including national security. Let's start off with something very important to the American public, transparency. Sure. Right now, we just heard about Hillary Clinton's health. Her campaign says they will be releasing more medical information about her health later this week. Donald Trump said this morning he had a physical last week. Right. They'll be releasing his, quote, numbers later in the week. Why not go the extra step and just release all of his medical information? I assume you agree the American public deserves to know about the health of both of these candidates.
Well, we do agree with that. And let me first say, as Donald Trump has said earlier today, we wish Hillary Clinton well, pray for a swift recovery, look forward to seeing her back on the campaign trail. But look, people are vying for the highest office in the land. I think the American people have a right to know. And Donald Trump in the days ahead will be releasing his information from the recent physical and providing that information available to the public. I think both candidates should do that. I think that's in the public interest.
You think he'll go as far as John McCain did 8 years ago when he released years of his medical conditions, his health reports, and allowed reporters and journalists, including our own chief medical correspondent, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, to spend hours talking to his physicians, learning more about his health? At the time, McCain was 70 years old, the exact age of Donald Trump right now.
Well, I think we'll see. I think Donald Trump's made it clear that he just happened to have his most recent physical on Friday, that we're going to be making all of that information available in the days ahead. But I can tell you, having campaigned with Donald Trump and for Donald Trump over the last couple of months here, he is a man who is vigorous, is energetic. He gets up early, he campaigns late. We talk about every day, we campaign at least once a week. And I'm very confident that as that information comes forward, the American people will see confirmed that this is a man who does have the energy and the physical ability and stamina to be Governor, president of the United States.
With all due respect, like me, you're not a doctor, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
Shouldn't the American people speak directly to his physicians and get that kind of information? Because he certainly does look healthy, he's got a lot of energy, but don't we deserve to know a lot more?
Well, I think you will know a lot more. I think Donald Trump's made that very clear. I think in the days ahead here, that information will be made available, and I think that information ought to be available. But to be honest with you, our focus in this campaign is not on the health of my running mate or even on the health of the Democrat nominee. It really today is on the fact that I think millions of Americans were just literally shocked and alarmed at the statements that Hillary Clinton made.
We're going to get to that in a moment, but let's just wrap up the health issue. Do you believe Hillary Clinton is healthy enough to be president of the United States?
Well, as you said, I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't care to speculate. I think the American people have a right to know the answer to that question, and they'll know it from Donald Trump. Donald Trump's made it very clear he's going to make his health records available, and we hope the Democratic nominee joins him in that. But again, I really do believe, campaigning as I am over this last weekend, back home again in Indiana over the weekend, the American people are really focused on the issues, and the fact that Hillary Clinton went before a group of wealthy donors in New York and literally called millions of Americans who support Donald Trump part of a basket of deplorables.
We're going to get into that basket in a moment.
Shocking.
But I just want to be, is Donald Trump going to simply release the results of his physical last week or his medical records over the years?
I think he's going to be providing the latest information on his health, which I think is the relevant information. But I'd refer you to the Trump campaign specifically and to the organization in New York about what they choose to do and when they choose to do it. I know in talking with him, he's anxious to be transparent about his health. And the American people are going to see this is a man who is vigorous and healthy and energetic and will be a great president of the United States.
Was Rudy Giuliani okay in insinuating that she's not healthy? He was appearing to be referring to innuendos, all sorts of rumors out there. Were you comfortable with what he was saying?
Trump, let me just tell you, Donald Trump and I made it clear. We wish Hillary Clinton well, and we're praying for a swift recovery. We want to see her back out on the campaign trail because the issues in this election are so important to the American people, and the choice could not be more clear. So we'll leave it at that.
Because
She'll
Rudy
have our
Giuliani
prayers,
is not
our
a
good
doctor
wishes.
either. I'm just wondering if you were okay with what he was saying.
Well, look, our focus is on our campaign, on telling our story, on reaching more and more Americans every day. I'm here in Washington, D.C. because I'm going to be
But
meeting
he's a
with
senior advisor.
I'm going to be meeting with
to the
leaders on
nominee.
Capitol Hill and with rank and file members
Rudy
on Capitol
Giuliani
Hill.
is the top advisor, as you know.
Rudy Giuliani is a great friend, and he's a great champion. He was a great
Did he go too far?
Great mayor. Well, our focus is on the issues in this campaign, and I just want to be very clear. We wish Hillary Clinton well. We're praying for her swift recovery. We want to see her back on the campaign trail, and we're ready to compete.
Because you don't want to answer that question, so let's move on. Continue transparency. We're going to get to the basket in a little while. Tax returns. Hillary Clinton has released more than 20 years of her tax returns. Donald Trump hasn't released any of his tax returns. And I understand past few years he's still under audit. That's why he says he's not going to release it. But everything up to 2008 is no longer under audit. Why not release those years?
Donald Trump has already provided voluminous information about his financial
finances,
dealings,
but not his tax.
as the law requires.
We don't know what percentage of his income he was paying for tax. We don't know about charitable contributions. There's a lot the American public, I assume you agree, you released your tax returns for 10 years. Don't you think the American public deserves that information? This is the president, potentially, of the United States.
Well, I do, and so does Donald Trump. He's made it very clear that after the completion of a routine audit,
Well, what about the
he'll
earlier
release
years?
his
Why not
tax
the
returns.
earlier years, going up to 2008?
Well, again, you all in the media want to make pronouncements and decisions that are current and they're relevant. I think
But
Donald
the
Trump.
polls
Donald
show the
Trump
American public wants to know this kind of
well,
information.
I think the American public also wants to know where 33,000 emails are. I think the American people want to know about the pay-to-play system that was operating when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State of the United States. I think, when that routine audit is done, you're going to see Donald Trump make those tax returns available, and he's committed to
a lot of people have
transparency,
suggested
just as I am.
that sounds like an excuse for not releasing the tax. You've released all your tax returns
I have.
for the past 10 years, and so you thought it was important that the American public know all of the information about your information. But the IRS itself says Trump is under no obligation to not release that information. He could do so even as the audit continues. Nixon did it.
Right. Well, and he's also under no obligation to release his tax returns. It's become a tradition. I know Ronald Reagan, I think CNN reported the other day when I was at the Reagan Library, Ronald Reagan released 1 year of tax returns, and he wasn't real happy about the invasion of privacy when he did it. So there's a bit of a tradition here, but your viewers deserve to know that Donald Trump and I and the other candidates in this race have fully complied with what the law requires about financial disclosure. That information about his finances is available, more than 100 pages of details about his financial dealings. And at the appropriate time, when the audit is done, he'll provide those tax returns.
He could, without violating whatever his accountants or lawyers are telling him about the audit, he could at a minimum release the amount of income he had, the percentage of taxes that he paid, the amount of charitable contributions. That wouldn't undermine the audit by any means.
Well, I think the commitment Donald Trump has made is once the routine audit is done, he'll release the tax returns in totality and not parse them out piece by piece as you might suggest.
So I guess the question is, why isn't he living up to the Mike Pence standard?
Well, Donald Trump has made it very clear. He has lived in the public eye for a long time. He's fully been transparent about his financial dealings as the law requires in his federal filings, and those tax returns will be out when that routine audit is done. But I do have to tell you, though, Wolf, as I travel around the country, I know members of the media are very interested in this. I don't hear a lot of people when I'm out on the stump, as I was in Virginia just a few short days ago. I don't hear a lot of people talking about tax returns. They're talking about the future of the country. They're talking about wanting to see a stronger America at home and abroad. And the reason more and more Americans are being drawn to this campaign, the reason you see those strong numbers in the polls is because people are responding to his message to make America
So we're
great
not
again.
going to get any information about his taxes until the audit is complete, including earlier years when those audits were completed.
I think that's the right answer, but again, I just want to tell you, this is not what the American people are talking about. And I respect the role of the media. You know, I have throughout my career, and asking all the tough questions. But I think the American people are concerned about their future. They're concerned about a struggling economy, about a 1% rate of growth in the last quarter. I mean, there's a lot of people hurting out there.
Huge issue. Obviously, there's a lot of huge issues. We're going to get to some of them in a moment. But a lot of focus has been on the Clinton Foundation. There is also a charitable foundation called the Donald J. Trump Charitable Foundation. The lengthy story in the Washington Post that I guess since 2008, to this charitable foundation, Donald Trump hasn't actually given any of his own money. This is money that came in from others that he then distributed that money to various causes or whatever. And it's raising further questions about how much charity Donald Trump has really given.
Well, anyone who knows about Donald Trump and his career knows that this is a man who's given away tens of millions of dollars to charitable causes throughout the course of his business life. He's been incredibly generous. I was down
because
in
a
Baton Rouge.
lot of people say, we believe you, but show us the evidence.
Well, but I'll show you some evidence. I was down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. There wasn't any press around. And in the car with Reverend Franklin Graham, leaving a church where people were working with folks that had been displaced by the terrible flooding in Louisiana, he just pledged and then gave a week later $100,000.
Was that from his own money or from this charitable foundation, which is receiving money from other people?
Well, I would leave you to them. I'm not exactly where the check came from, but he made a commitment. He followed through on it a week later, and there simply is no question. You can talk to charities all across the country who have benefited by the generosity of the Trump family, and I'm very, very proud of their charitable record.